CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Research Methods. Question 1. Could a case where students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz be an example of which concept for Rosa? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, metacognition. Option C, constructivism. Option D, operant conditioning. The correct answer is option A, classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Metacognition is not the best choice because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism is different because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Operant conditioning does not fit because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Question 2. Why would Rosa link a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, extinction. Option B, punishment. Option C, positive reinforcement. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option C, positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Punishment is different because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Question 3. A practice item tells Rosa that students complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which concept is most likely? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, response cost. Option D, positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option B, negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Question 4. Before answering, Rosa identifies that a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases. Which term should be chosen? Option A, positive punishment. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, shaping. Option D, positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option A, positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Shaping is different because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. Which choice helps Rosa explain why a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy student gradually speaks louder in class in a quick quiz review? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, shaping. Option C, extinction. Option D, reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option B, shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Reciprocal teaching does not fit because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Question 6. How can Rosa classify a classroom moment where a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away? Option A, modeling. Option B, spaced practice. Option C, extinction. Option D, punishment. The correct answer is option C, extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Modeling is not the best choice because it involves learning by watching others. Spaced practice is different because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Punishment does not fit because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Question 7. Suppose Rosa observes that a student keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses. Which concept is shown? Option A, variable interval schedule. Option B, fixed interval schedule. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, variable ratio schedule. The correct answer is option D, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Variable interval schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Fixed interval schedule is different because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Question 8. While reviewing, Rosa sees students work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, variable ratio schedule. Option C, fixed interval schedule. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option C, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on a set number of responses. Variable ratio schedule is different because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Question 9. One interesting clue says a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which educational psychology term fits for Rosa? Option A, observational learning. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, trial and error learning. Option D, insight learning. The correct answer is option A, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Trial and error learning is different because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Insight learning does not fit because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Question 10. From this example, where a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems, which answer should Rosa select? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, external locus of control. Option C, self-concept. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option D, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control is different because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept does not fit because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Question 11. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a student's confidence, learning behavior, and teacher response all influence one another. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, maturation. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, reciprocal determinism. The correct answer is option D, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares scores to other test takers. Maturation is different because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Classical conditioning does not fit because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Question 12. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve. Which principle applies? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, standardization. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 13. Can Rosa treat a student can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone as evidence of which concept? Option A, reliability. Option B, mastery learning. Option C, zone of proximal development. Option D, formal operational stage. The correct answer is option C, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Formal operational stage does not fit because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Question 14. If Rosa must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category? Option A, encoding. Option B, assimilation. Option C, accommodation. Option D, conservation. The correct answer is option B, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Encoding is not the best choice because it is getting information into memory. Accommodation is different because it changes the schema to fit new information. Conservation does not fit because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Question 15. Rather than guessing, Rosa should connect a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses with which concept? Option A, rehearsal. Option B, assimilation. Option C, accommodation. Option D, class inclusion. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Rehearsal is not the best choice because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Assimilation is different because it would force new information into an old schema. Class inclusion does not fit because it involves understanding category relationships. Question 16. Curiosity rises when Rosa reads that a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, concrete operational thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, sensoromotor thinking. Option D, pre-operational thinking. The correct answer is option A, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Formal operational thinking is not the best choice because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Sensoromotor thinking is different because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Question 17. A CLEP-style scenario says a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples. Which answer best captures it for Rosa? Option A, concrete operational thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, pre-operational thinking. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option B, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Concrete operational thinking is not the best choice because it works best with tangible examples. Pre-operational thinking is different because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Object permanence does not fit because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Question 18. Inside a tutoring table, Rosa studies why an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared. Which concept fits? Option A, conservation. Option B, egocentrism. Option C, object permanence. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option C, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Conservation is not the best choice because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Egocentrism is different because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Question 19. Looking at the clue that an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and learning skills, which idea should Rosa remember? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, generativity versus stagnation. The correct answer is option B, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation does not fit because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Question 20. Rosa sees that a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, autonomy versus shame. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, intimacy versus isolation. Option D, identity versus role confusion. The correct answer is option D, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Autonomy versus shame is not the best choice because it describes toddlers building independence. Industry versus inferiority is different because it focuses on school-age competence. Intimacy versus isolation does not fit because it usually involves young adult relationships. Question 21. When Rosa notices that a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, moral realism. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option B, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Moral realism is different because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Post-conventional morality does not fit because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Question 22. During a final review session, Rosa studies a case where a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward. Which term fits best? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, identity achievement. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Conventional morality is not the best choice because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Post-conventional morality is different because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Identity achievement does not fit because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Question 23. In a learning lab, Rosa asks why a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which answer names the idea? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, learned helplessness. Option C, conventional morality. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D. Post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Learned helplessness is different because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Conventional morality does not fit because it generally supports rules and social order. Question 24. After reading that a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design, how should Rosa label the concept? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, working memory. Option C, multiple intelligences. Option D, G factor. The correct answer is option C. Multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares learners to a group. Working memory is different because it is a limited mental workspace. G factor does not fit because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Question 25. For a short exam review, Rosa connects an assignment, asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life with which principle? Option A, criterion referenced testing. Option B, triarchic intelligence. Option C, fluid intelligence. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option B. Triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Criterion reference testing is not the best choice because it measures performance against standards. Fluid intelligence is different because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Multiple intelligences does not fit because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Question 26. Could a case where a student studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating be an example of which concept for Rosa? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, performance goal. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option D. Intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Performance goal does not fit because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Question 27. Why would Rosa link a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, mastery goal. Option B, self-regulation. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option C. Extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Mastery goal is not the best choice because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Self-regulation is different because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Question 28. A practice item tells Rosa that a student chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which concept is most likely? Option A, avoidance goal. Option B, performance goal. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option C. Mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Avoidance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as unchangeable. Question 29. Before answering, Rosa identifies that a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart. Which term should be chosen? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, metacognition. Option C, performance goal. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option C, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Metacognition is different because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Mastery goal does not fit because it centers on improvement and understanding. Question 30. Which choice helps Rosa explain why a student explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability in an online prep session? Option A, attribution theory. Option B, classroom ecology. Option C, constructivism. Option D, information processing theory. The correct answer is option A, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Classroom ecology is not the best choice because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Constructivism is different because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Information processing theory does not fit because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Question 31. How can Rosa classify a classroom moment where a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, positive transfer. Option C, growth mindset. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option A, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Positive transfer is not the best choice because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Growth mindset is different because it supports belief that ability can improve. Self-efficacy does not fit because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Question 32. Suppose Rosa observes that a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort. Which concept is shown? Option A, external attribution. Option B, growth mindset. Option C, entity theory. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option B, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. External attribution is not the best choice because it places causes outside the learner. Entity theory is different because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Question 33. While reviewing, Rosa sees a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, Kohlberg theory. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. The correct answer is option D, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Kohlberg theory is different because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. One interesting clue says a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which educational psychology term fits for Rosa? Option A, procedural memory. Option B, working memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option B, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Procedural memory is not the best choice because it stores skills and habits. Long-term memory is different because it stores information over extended periods. Sensory memory does not fit because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Question 35. From this example, where a student recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier, which answer should Rosa select? Option A, working memory. Option B, selective attention. Option C, sensory memory. Option D, long-term memory. The correct answer is option D. Long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Working memory is not the best choice because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Selective attention is different because it filters what receives mental focus. Sensory memory does not fit because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Question 36. Students in a teacher training scenario discuss why a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, validity. Option B, retrieval. Option C, encoding. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C. Encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Validity is not the best choice because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Retrieval is different because it involves pulling stored information back out. Extinction does not fit because it weakens a learned behavior. Question 37. Teachers in a final review session wonder why a student closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall. Which principle applies? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, retrieval practice. Option C, massed practice. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option B. Retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Massed practice is different because it compresses study into one long session. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Question 38. Can Rosa treat a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days as evidence of which concept? Option A, norming. Option B, shaping. Option C, massed practice. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D. Spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Norming is not the best choice because it creates comparison data for a test. Shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Massed practice does not fit because it packs study into one concentrated period. Question 39. If Rosa must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student links a new theory to personal learning experiences? Option A, elaboration. Option B, extinction. Option C, rote rehearsal. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A. Elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Rote rehearsal is different because it repeats information without adding meaning. Reliability does not fit because it refers to consistency of measurement. Question 40. Rather than guessing, Rosa should connect a student group's a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories with which concept? Option A, chunking. Option B, response cost. Option C, overlearning. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option A. Chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Overlearning is different because it continues practice after initial mastery. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. Curiosity rises when Rosa reads that a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, automaticity. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, metacognition. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option C. Metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Automaticity is not the best choice because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Classical conditioning is different because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on external rewards. Question 42. A CLEP style scenario says knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability. Which answer best captures it for Rosa? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, cognitive dissonance. Option C, extinction. Option D, transfer of learning. The correct answer is option D. Transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Cognitive dissonance is different because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Question 43. Inside a Bright Review class, Rosa studies why a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins. Which concept fits? Option A, token economy. Option B, random assignment. Option C, exit ticket. Option D, advance organizer. The correct answer is option D. Advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. Looking at the clue that a student uses an existing mental framework about learnings to understand a new teaching method, which idea should Rosa remember? Option A, reinforcer. Option B, rubric. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, schema. The correct answer is option D. Schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Reinforcer is not the best choice because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Rubric is different because it is a scoring guide. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing in a group. Question 45. Rosa sees that too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a student during a first lesson during an online prep session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, cognitive load. Option C, reliability. Option D, egocentrism. The correct answer is option B. Cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Egocentrism does not fit because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Question 46. When Rosa notices that students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A, constructivism. Option B, standardization. Option C, behaviorism. Option D, maturation. The correct answer is option A. Constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps procedures uniform. Behaviorism is different because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Maturation does not fit because it emphasizes biological growth. Question 47. During a practice test workshop, Rosa studies a case where students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation. Which term fits best? Option A, direct instruction. Option B, norm referenced assessment. Option C, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option D, inquiry-based learning. The correct answer is option D. Inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to one another. Fixed ratio reinforcement does not fit because it rewards after a set number of responses. Question 48. In a tutoring table, Rosa asks why a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which answer names the idea? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, peer tutoring. Option C, direct instruction. Option D, discovery learning. The correct answer is option C. Direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work over time. Peer tutoring is different because it uses students helping students. Discovery learning does not fit because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Question 49. After reading that students work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability, how should Rosa label the concept? Option A, independent study. Option B, competitive learning. Option C, lecture method. Option D, cooperative learning. The correct answer is option D. Cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Independent study is not the best choice because it relies on solo learning. Competitive learning is different because it ranks students against one another. Lecture method does not fit because it centers on teacher presentation. Question 50. For a short exam review, Rosa connects a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on student readiness with which principle? Option A, differentiated instruction. Option B, random sampling. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, standardized instruction. The correct answer is option A. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Random sampling is not the best choice because it selects participants for research. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates after instruction. Standardized instruction does not fit because it delivers the same approach to all students. Question 51. Could a case where a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start be an example of which concept for Rosa? Option A, universal design for learning. Option B, tracking. Option C, accommodation only. Option D, mastery grading. The correct answer is option A. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Tracking is not the best choice because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Accommodation only is different because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading does not fit because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Question 52. Why would Rosa link a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, placement test. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, norm referenced assessment. The correct answer is option C. Formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Placement test is different because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to other learners. Question 53. A practice item tells Rosa that a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends. Which concept is most likely? Option A, diagnostic assessment. Option B, anecdotal record. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option D. Summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Diagnostic assessment is not the best choice because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record is different because it is a brief observational note. Formative assessment does not fit because it guides instruction during learning. Question 54. Before answering, Rosa identifies that a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery. Which term should be chosen? Option A, criterion referenced assessment. Option B, norm referenced assessment. Option C, ipsative assessment. Option D, informal observation. The correct answer is option A. Criterion referenced assessment. This describes criterion referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Norm referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to a reference group. Ipsative assessment is different because it compares a student to their own past performance. Informal observation does not fit because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Question 55. Which choice helps Rosa explain why a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample in a student coaching session? Option A, norm referenced assessment. Option B, formative assessment. Option C, criterion referenced assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option A. Norm referenced assessment. This describes norm referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it is used during learning for improvement. Criterion referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a standard. Authentic assessment does not fit because it uses real-world tasks. Question 56. How can Rosa classify a classroom moment where a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly? Option A, reliability. Option B, validity. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, bias. The correct answer is option A. Reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Validity is not the best choice because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Percentile rank is different because it reports relative standing. Bias does not fit because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Question 57. Suppose Rosa observes that a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed. Which concept is shown? Option A, reliability. Option B, validity. Option C, standard error. Option D, inter-rater agreement. The correct answer is option B. Validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Standard error is different because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement does not fit because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Question 58. While reviewing, Rosa sees all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, standardized test. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option B. Standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. One interesting clue says students design a real learning plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which educational psychology term fits for Rosa? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, standardized assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, forced choice test. The correct answer is option A. Authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Standardized assessment is not the best choice because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a group. Forced choice test does not fit because it limits responses to provided options. Question 60. From this example, where students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy, which answer should Rosa select? Option A, syllabus. Option B, rubric. Option C, norm table. Option D, checklist. The correct answer is option B. Rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Syllabus is not the best choice because it outlines course policies and topics. Norm table is different because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Checklist does not fit because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Question 61. Students in a morning lesson discuss why a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, Kohlberg stages. Option B, Erikson stages. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Maslow hierarchy. The correct answer is option C. Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Kohlberg stages is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Maslow hierarchy does not fit because it organizes human needs. Question 62. Teachers in a practice test workshop wonder why a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services. Which principle applies? Option A, norming report. Option B, rubric. Option C, lesson plan. Option D, individualized education program. The correct answer is option D. Individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Norming report is not the best choice because it summarizes comparison data. Rubric is different because it scores performance. Lesson plan does not fit because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Question 63. Can Rosa treat a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate as evidence of which concept? Option A, tracking. Option B, standardization. Option C, retention. Option D, least restrictive environment. The correct answer is option D. Least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Tracking is not the best choice because it groups students by perceived ability. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Retention does not fit because it keeps a student in the same grade. Question 64. If Rosa must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student gets extended time while the learning target stays the same? Option A, punishment. Option B, modification. Option C, accommodation. Option D, acceleration. The correct answer is option C. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Punishment is not the best choice because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Modification is different because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Acceleration does not fit because it moves a learner ahead faster. Question 65. Rather than guessing, Rosa should connect a student completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations with which concept? Option A, modification. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, accommodation. Option D, universal screening. The correct answer is option A. Modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation is different because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Universal screening does not fit because it checks all learners for risk. Question 66. Curiosity rises when Rosa reads that a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, behavior contract. Option B, dyslexia support. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, dyscalculia support. The correct answer is option B. Dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Behavior contract is not the best choice because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank is different because it reports relative test standing. Dyscalculia support does not fit because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Question 67. A CLEP-style scenario says a student focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines. Which answer best captures it for Rosa? Option A, ADHD classroom support. Option B, criterion testing. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, gifted compacting. The correct answer is option A. ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Criterion testing is not the best choice because it compares performance to standards. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli with responses. Gifted compacting does not fit because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Question 68. Inside a learning lab, Rosa studies why an advanced student skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment. Which concept fits? Option A, retention. Option B, extinction. Option C, remediation. Option D, curriculum compacting. The correct answer is option D. Curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Retention is not the best choice because it repeats a grade or course. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Remediation does not fit because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Question 69. Looking at the clue that examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds, which idea should Rosa remember? Option A, culturally responsive teaching. Option B, ability tracking. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, colorblind teaching. The correct answer is option A. Culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Ability tracking is not the best choice because it separates students by perceived ability. Standardized testing is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Colorblind teaching does not fit because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Question 70. Rosa sees that an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge during a student coaching session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, validity evidence. Option C, test bias. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C. Test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Validity evidence is different because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. When Rosa notices that students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily in a mini lecture, which idea is being tested? Option A, random reinforcement. Option B, classroom routines. Option C, accommodation. Option D, summative testing. The correct answer is option B. Classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Random reinforcement is not the best choice because it gives rewards unpredictably. Accommodation is different because it adjusts access for a learner. Summative testing does not fit because it evaluates final achievement. Question 72. During a peer study circle, Rosa studies a case where students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges. Which term fits best? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, mastery learning. Option C, token economy. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option C. Token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Mastery learning is different because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Logical consequence does not fit because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Question 73. In a Bright review class, Rosa asks why a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which answer names the idea? Option A, logical consequence. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, extinction. Option D, unrelated punishment. The correct answer is option A. Logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Extinction is different because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Unrelated punishment does not fit because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Question 74. After reading that a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly, how should Rosa label the concept? Option A, witness. Option B, wait time. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option A. Witness. This describes witness because witness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Wait time is not the best choice because it is a pause after asking a question. Scaffolding is different because it gives temporary learning support. Self-efficacy does not fit because it is belief in capability. Question 75. For a short exam review, Rosa connects a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone with which principle? Option A, wait time. Option B, response cost. Option C, witness. Option D, distributed practice. The correct answer is option A. Wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. Witness is different because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. Could a case where a prompt asks students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact be an example of which concept for Rosa? Option A, open-ended questioning. Option B, recall cue. Option C, closed question. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option A. Open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Recall cue is not the best choice because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Closed question is different because it usually has one brief answer. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. Why would Rosa link a teacher tells a student exactly what worked and what to revise next to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, summative grade only. Option B, general praise. Option C, random correction. Option D, effective feedback. The correct answer is option D. Effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Summative grade only is not the best choice because it reports performance without next steps. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Random correction does not fit because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. Question 78. A practice item tells Rosa that a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which concept is most likely? Option A, self-regulated learning. Option B, object permanence. Option C, operant conditioning. Option D, social facilitation. The correct answer is option A. Self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Object permanence is not the best choice because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Operant conditioning is different because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Social facilitation does not fit because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Question 79. Before answering, Rosa identifies that students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading. Which term should be chosen? Option A, direct instruction. Option B, reciprocal teaching. Option C, random assignment. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option B. Reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards. Question 80. Which choice helps Rosa explain why one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits in a quick quiz review? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, lecture. Option C, peer tutoring. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option C. Peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work samples over time. Lecture is different because it is teacher presentation to a group. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into ability groups. Question 81. How can Rosa classify a classroom moment where a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound? Option A, syntax. Option B, phonics. Option C, morphology. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D. Phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Syntax is not the best choice because it concerns sentence structure. Phonics is different because it links sounds to printed letters. Morphology does not fit because it studies meaningful word parts. Question 82. Suppose Rosa observes that a student improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step. Which concept is shown? Option A, Bandura modeling. Option B, Maslow needs. Option C, Piaget conservation. Option D, Skinner shaping. The correct answer is option A, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Piaget conservation is different because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Skinner shaping does not fit because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Question 83. While reviewing, Rosa sees family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, Brinfenbrenner ecological systems. Option B, information processing. Option C, Kohlberg moral stages. Option D, Erikson psychosocial stages. The correct answer is option A, Brinfenbrenner ecological systems. This describes Brinfenbrenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Information processing is not the best choice because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Kohlberg moral stages is different because it focuses on moral reasoning. Erikson psychosocial stages does not fit because it focuses on lifespan social emotional conflicts. Question 84. One interesting clue says a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which educational psychology term fits for Rosa? Option A, secure attachment. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, authoritarian parenting. Option D, avoidant attachment. The correct answer is option A, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Industry versus inferiority is not the best choice because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Authoritarian parenting is different because it describes strict parenting style. Avoidant attachment does not fit because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Question 85. From this example, where two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability, which answer should Rosa select? Option A, self-concept. Option B, temperament. Option C, moral reasoning. Option D, criterion validity. The correct answer is option B, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Self-concept is not the best choice because it is a person's view of self. Moral reasoning is different because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Criterion validity does not fit because it links test scores to an outcome. Question 86. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a child says "good" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, telegraphic speech. Option B, code switching. Option C, language overgeneralization. Option D, babbling. The correct answer is option C, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Telegraphic speech is not the best choice because it uses short two-word phrases. Code switching is different because it shifts language varieties based on context. Babbling does not fit because it is early sound play. Question 87. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need. Which principle applies? Option A, behavior checklist. Option B, moral dilemma assessment. Option C, achievement test. Option D, aptitude test. The correct answer is option B, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Behavior checklist is not the best choice because it records observed behaviors. Achievement test is different because it measures learned academic content. Aptitude test does not fit because it predicts future learning potential. Question 88. Can Rosa treat a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause as evidence of which concept? Option A, experimental research. Option B, ethnography. Option C, correlational research. Option D, case study. The correct answer is option C, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Experimental research is not the best choice because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Ethnography is different because it studies culture through immersion. Case study does not fit because it examines one person or small group deeply. Question 89. If Rosa must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance? Option A, convenience sampling. Option B, random assignment. Option C, matching. Option D, random sampling. The correct answer is option B, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Matching is different because it pairs participants on key traits. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants from a population. Question 90. Rather than guessing, Rosa should connect a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive with which concept? Option A, control variable. Option B, independent variable. Option C, dependent variable. Option D, confounding variable. The correct answer is option B, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Control variable is not the best choice because it is held constant. Dependent variable is different because it is the measured outcome. Confounding variable does not fit because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Question 91. Curiosity rises when Rosa reads that a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, independent variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, extraneous variable. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option B, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Independent variable is not the best choice because it is the factor manipulated. Extraneous variable is different because it is an outside influence. Random assignment does not fit because it is a grouping procedure. Question 92. A CLEP style scenario says one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy. Which answer best captures it for Rosa? Option A, population. Option B, experimental group. Option C, sample. Option D, control group. The correct answer is option D, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Experimental group is different because it receives the treatment being tested. Sample does not fit because it is the set of participants studied. Question 93. Inside a tutoring table, Rosa studies why a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students. Which concept fits? Option A, median. Option B, range. Option C, mean. Option D, mode. The correct answer is option C, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Median is not the best choice because it is the middle score. Range is different because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Mode does not fit because it is the most frequent score. Question 94. Looking at the clue that a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average, which idea should Rosa remember? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, raw score. Option D, mean. The correct answer is option B, standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Mean does not fit because it gives the average but not spread. Question 95. Rosa sees that a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, grade equivalent. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, percentage correct. The correct answer is option C, percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Grade equivalent is different because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Percentage correct does not fit because it reports items answered correctly. Question 96. When Rosa notices that students improve partly because they know they are being studied in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, Hawthorne effect. Option B, placebo effect. Option C, testing effect. Option D, observer bias. The correct answer is option A, Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Placebo effect is not the best choice because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Testing effect is different because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Observer bias does not fit because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Question 97. During a final review session, Rosa studies a case where students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program. Which term fits best? Option A, selection bias. Option B, regression to the mean. Option C, instrumentation threat. Option D, maturation threat. The correct answer is option D, maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Selection bias is not the best choice because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Regression to the mean is different because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Instrumentation threat does not fit because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Question 98. In a learning lab, Rosa asks why a researcher records detailed notes about learning interactions instead of only counting scores. Which answer names the idea? Option A, qualitative observation. Option B, meta-analysis. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A, qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Meta-analysis is not the best choice because it statistically combines many studies. Standardized testing is different because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Random assignment does not fit because it places participants into groups by chance. Question 99. After reading that a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own learning, how should Rosa label the concept? Option A, action research. Option B, laboratory experiment. Option C, longitudinal research. Option D, survey research. The correct answer is option A, action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Laboratory experiment is not the best choice because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Longitudinal research is different because it follows participants over time. Survey research does not fit because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Question 100. For a short exam review, Rosa connects families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate with which principle? Option A, confidentiality. Option B, random assignment. Option C, debriefing. Option D, informed consent. The correct answer is option D. Informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Confidentiality is not the best choice because it protects private data. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Debriefing does not fit because it explains details after participation.